Good evening, I'm Luke Clary. Tonight, a show of military might in the nation's capital. The U.S. Army is celebrating its 250th anniversary with a parade ordered by President Donald Trump. You're looking live at that military parade on the National Mall. The White House moved up the start time by 30 minutes because of the weather. Now, it's a massive show of strength marking 250 years of the U.S. Army. From helicopters to howitzers, more than 6,000 troops are on display. Security is also front and center with miles of fencing surrounding the area. Today is also President Trump's 79th birthday. You can see him here sitting next to First Lady Melania Trump. The Army says that this celebration could cost up to $45 million, and a new poll from the Associated Press suggests most Americans aren't on board. About 6 in 10 say that this isn't a good use of government money. All of this happening as counter-protests break out in cities across the country. Demonstrators are calling it No Kings Day. Millions took to the streets today in cities across the country, joining No Kings demonstrations aimed at President Trump. Marchers rallied for democracy and immigrant rights, chanting against authoritarian rule. Governors in several states called for calm and deployed National Guard troops as a precaution. Now, despite the tensions, most protests have been peaceful so far. And here at home, hundreds are gathering at the state capitol. Organizers say that No Kings is expected to be the largest single-day mobilization since Donald Trump returned to office. ABC10's Gabriel Porras has been there all afternoon and has a look.
Right here on 10th Street in front of the center of California's legislative control was the center of this No Kings protest. Thousands of demonstrators have now walked off into different areas of downtown. Traffic has been backed up in some areas, but the protesters have largely been sticking to the sidewalks. Now, there are a lot of reasons that protesters have come out today, some telling us they were moved by the immigration action in Southern California that they saw this week, others at odds with the Trump administration's other policies. But at the core of this demonstration was a plan to protest the Flag Day military parade over in Washington, D.C. Now, thousands of people here at the state capitol hoping that their voices are heard thousands of miles away at the nation's capital. In Sacramento, Gabriel Porras, ABC 10.
Gabriel, thank you. Now to a deadly attack in Minnesota. A Democratic state representative and her husband were killed, and a state senator and his wife wounded in what authorities call a politically motivated shooting. The FBI is now offering a $50,000 reward for information leading to an arrest. Here's ABC's Olivia Rubin with the details.
Democratic State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband shot and killed this morning in what Minnesota's governor is calling a politically motivated assassination. Authorities say it happened around 3:30 a.m. at their home in the Minneapolis suburb of Brooklyn Park.
Our state lost a great leader, and I lost the dearest of friends. Speaker Hortman was someone who served the people of Minnesota with grace, compassion, humor, and a sense of service.
Roughly 90 minutes earlier in nearby Champlain, law enforcement saying State Senator John Hoffman and his wife shot and wounded.
This was an act of targeted political violence.
Following the shooting of the Hoffmans, officers going to proactively check on Hortman. As they arrived at the state representative's home, they say they noticed what appeared to be a police vehicle in the driveway, with emergency lights on and an officer leaving the premises.
Brooklyn Park police officers encountered the individual who immediately fired at them, and they exchanged gunfire, and then the individual was able to escape during that exchange of gunfire.
Investigators say the suspect fled the scene on foot and say they searched his car and found a list of names. That suspect identified as 57-year-old Vance Bolter.
Do not approach him. You should consider him armed and dangerous, and you should call 911 immediately with the information.
According to law enforcement sources, the list in his car including Democratic politicians in Minnesota at the state and federal levels. State officials and local law enforcement say there is now increased security presence for lawmakers and other officials. In Washington, political leaders from both sides of the aisle, including former President Joe Biden, with a similar message saying political violence has no place in the country. The entire congressional Minnesota delegation also releasing a joint statement condemning the attack. Olivia Rubin, ABC News, New York.
And tonight, security is tightened around Minnesota lawmakers as the search continues for the suspect. Authorities warn that he is armed and dangerous. We'll continue to follow this story. Stay with us for updates. Now to a fast-moving grass fire in Roseville that came dangerously close to homes this morning, but thanks to a quick response by fire crews, disaster was averted. The fire broke out just before 11 near Holt Parkway and El Cerrito Way, and crews managed to contain the fire to just over 11 acres, keeping it from reaching those nearby homes. Thankfully, no structures were damaged. As we take a live look over Sacramento, a busy day with multiple events happening across the region. Many celebrating Father's Day and Pride festivities this weekend. And so, with a first look at your weather, here's meteorologist Sean Stiles.
All right, we're looking at a pretty good forecast for Dad's Day. Nice and cool overnight. We're talking about celebrating Pops, so maybe you, other than Dad, should get out and do the yard work. And then a little bit of a warm up as we make our way into midweek. But boy, I gotta tell you, the next couple days are looking pretty good around here. Forecast highs for tomorrow, we're talking about low 90s to mid 80s. Sacramento at 88. You head up to the lake, 77 on the South Shore, Truckee 78, and you come back, say, towards Napa Valley and those locations, they'll be in the low 80s, so looking pretty good out there. Here's how our morning starts off. As I said, cool, and then we start to warm. By the time we get to around 10, 11 o'clock, we start to push into the mid to upper 70s, and in the afternoon, we're talking mid 80s. As we make our way into the afternoon and evening, Dad should be kicking back around the barbecue and you should be cooking, looking at upper 80s. That's a look at your Father's Day forecast.
Thank you, Sean. And now to the traffic impact alert that we've been telling you about for days. A major highway closure starting last night. Eastbound Highway 50 is shut down from the I-80 split near the Causeway to Jefferson Boulevard in West Sacramento. And Caltrans says that this is all part of a long overdue pavement project, the first major work on this stretch of road since the 1970s. But the 79-hour closure comes at a busy time with UC Davis graduation, Pride events downtown, and an A's game Monday night, not to mention the Monday morning commute. Here's what Caltrans is advising to help drivers avoid the worst of it.
So give yourself an extra 40 minutes, maybe even an hour, if possible, just so that you can make sure you're getting to town soon enough, finding parking, being able to go ahead and not be late for a big event such as graduation.
Keep an eye out. CHP will also be out in force to help keep the work zone safe, where Caltrans says speeding and distracted driving have been ongoing problems. If you're coming from Davis, there are two options. Caltrans says take I-80 to I-5 and then come in to town that way. Then the second one is to take Highway 113 to Woodland and then eventually make your way on to I-5. All right, well, that'll do it for us this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. We're back tonight after the United Football League Championships. We'll see you then.